The twin moons of Virelia hung low on the horizon, casting silver-blue shadows over the thorny brush of Sector 9. Wind whispered through the dry grass, rustling with secrets and a faint hum of magnetic interference from the nearby war relics scattered across the barren fields. It was here, amid wreckage from a long-forgotten interstellar conflict, that Kieran Maddox found the beast. Kieran, a salvager from Earth's outer colonies, had come to Virelia for parts. Old tech, crashed drones and rusted-out AI cores. He wasn't looking for anything alive. The creature lay tangled in jagged wire, blood, a dark teal fluid, seeping from a gash in its leg. Its fur was a mixture of charcoal and violet, its eyes closed tightly in pain, and its breathing shallow. At first, Kieran thought it was a mutated predator. He aimed his plasma cutter just in case. But then it let out a whimper. Not a growl. Not a snarl. A whimper like a wounded dog. "Ah, hell," Kieran muttered, lowering the weapon. Kneeling, he inspected the wires tangled around the beast's haunches. They were remnants of an old defense grid, half-powered and dangerously unstable. Carefully, he snipped through them, flinching every time the creature twitched. Once freed, it collapsed fully unconscious. Kieran hesitated. Salvagers didn't bring home wounded animals, especially ones as large as a hover jeep and capable of gutting a man with a swipe. But something about the beast pulled at him. Its wounds weren't from traps or natural predators. They were clean laser precision. Someone had attacked it and left it to die. He fashioned a sled out of repulsor plating and dragged the beast back to his ship, the Grinder's Luck. The next 2 days were grueling. Kieran cleaned its wounds, applied nanostitch gel, and fed it protein-infused nutrient packs originally designed for warhorses. The beast was still unconscious, but its condition slowly stabilized. It breathed easier, its muscles twitching less. When Kieran wasn't tending to it, he worked on salvaging jobs, keeping an ear on the interstellar chatter. Still nothing about a missing creature. On the third night, the beast awoke. It didn't attack. Instead, it watched him silently from the corner of the cargo bay. Its eyes, deep, golden, and unsettlingly intelligent, tracked his every move. When Kieran offered a fresh nutrient pack, it took it gently from his hands. "Guess we've got a truce," Kieran said with a smirk. He named it Shade, for the way it could melt into the shadows when it moved. Shade followed him now, always silently, its massive paws making barely a sound on the metal floor. Kieran began to talk to it, as humans do when alone too long. Stories, jokes, memories. Shade didn't respond, but he listened. And when Kieran would rest, exhausted and slumped in the pilot's chair, he'd find the creature curled nearby, a silent, protective presence. It wasn't until they reached the trade station at Calyx Theta that Kieran's life unraveled. He was there to offload his latest haul, scrap, AI chips, and fusion cores. The station was abuzz with rumors. Ships searched the outer rim. The Baroness of the Virelia sovereignty had lost something. Prized possession. There was talk of a reward beyond comprehension, and punishments just as legendary. Her pet, one trader whispered. A Virelian. Thought extinct, but she had one. Genetic marvel. Said to be smarter than a military AI. Kieran froze mid-sip of synth ale. He knew instantly they were talking about Shade. He returned to his ship in a panic, heart hammering. Shade was there, sitting calmly in the cargo bay. Those golden eyes met his, and for the first time Kieran saw it, not just as an animal but as something more. Something bred for elegance and intelligence. Something priceless. And something owned. He reached for his comms unit, preparing to send an anonymous message. Maybe they'd come take it off his hands without making a fuss. Maybe there'd even be a reward. But when he looked back at Shade, who had tilted its head in silent curiosity, he couldn't do it. He remembered the whimper, pain, the trust it had placed in him. Instead, he shut down the comms. They left Calyx Theta within the hour. Over the next week, Kieran changed transponder codes, rerouted flight logs, and stayed off major space lanes. Shade adapted to life aboard the ship like a seasoned co-pilot. They were partners now, fugitives together. Kieran didn't know what he'd do next. He only knew he couldn't return Shade to the Baroness. Then came the ambush. They were flying near the Orantis belt when 3 interceptors dropped out of warp. Unidentified vessel, came the voice over comms, icy and controlled. Prepare to be boarded. You are harboring stolen property belonging to the Baroness of Virelia. Kieran cursed. Shade was already growling low, muscles tensed. He spun the ship toward the asteroid field, engines roaring. The chase was brutal. The grinder's luck wasn't built for speed, but Kieran knew how to fly dirty. He cut through debris, skimmed close to gravitational shears, and dumped chaff clouds to confuse sensors. Shade, gripping the co-pilot railings with claws, held steady, never panicking. But it wasn't enough. A beam struck the hull. Alarms blared. Life support systems failed in the cargo bay. Kieran rerouted power, fingers flying over controls. Then came the voice again. This is your final warning. Surrender the Virelian. Before Kieran could answer, Shade moved. It leapt to the controls, slamming a paw onto the emergency beacon panel. A coded pulse burst out, one Kieran didn't recognize. Within seconds, everything changed. A massive ship dropped out of warp behind the interceptors, sleek, black, and adorned with the silver crest of the Baroness. The interceptors pulled back instantly like whipped dogs. Kieran watched in stunned silence as the Baroness's ship hailed him. The holo display flickered to life, revealing Baroness Lissari herself, tall, imperious, and stunningly inhuman. Her eyes were crystalline, her skin like porcelain laced with circuitry. You have something of mine, human, she said. Kieran stepped forward. If you mean Shade. She has a name. Sarai. He looked at the creature beside him, stunned. You're female. The Baroness nodded. And bonded to me since birth. You have no idea what you've done. Kieran straightened. I saved her. There was a pause. The Baroness stared, eyes narrowing. And she did not kill you, she said, almost to herself. Shade, Sarai, walked forward and pressed her head gently against Kieran's side. Something shifted in the Baroness's expression. She chose you, she murmured. She should not have been able to. The moment stretched. Then the Baroness spoke again, this time softer. I owe you a debt, human. Sarai was ambushed and nearly destroyed. You saved her when my own guards failed. I will not punish you for harboring her. Kieran let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. But, the Baroness continued, she must return to me. Kieran's chest tightened. He looked down at Shade Sarai. She was watching him, eyes unreadable. She doesn't have to, Kieran said quietly. It is not your choice, the Baroness said. Sarai moved then, stepping between the hologram and Kieran. Her form shimmered and transformed. Not physically but projected. A light field activated from her collar, forming a translator halo. I choose, she said, her voice rich and resonant. The Baroness went still. I owe you everything, Lissari, Sarai said. But he saved my life. He gave me freedom.